Our goal here is to really reduce the amount of time it takes to get clean data that's fit for use for your specific analytics or data science projects. So what that means in specific in this demo, you're going to see how we've tightly coupled that rules definition engine inside the Trifacta transformer interface for this adaptive data quality solution. You're also going to see some of the automatic rule identification and suggestion. So again, this is meant to really reduce that time that you're spending trying to figure out what's wrong with your data, and allow you to rely on the tool to actually suggest possible data quality rules. And ultimately, this integration, these suggested rules, it allows you to add agility to your projects and also ensure data integrity at all points in the pipeline. We're going to start in the transformer interface that you're used to from the data prep portion of Trifacta. So you'll see a sample of the data, or in this case, the full data, in the user interface. You can see some profiling information about every column. But the new information that we add is this option called Data Quality Rules. So I can open that up, and I've got two options right off the bat. Either define a rule myself or let Trifacta suggest different quality rules for me. So I'm going to start by looking at the rule suggestions. And you can see that Trifacta groups the rule suggestions based on the column that they're being applied to. So I can start by looking at the different rules that we've inferred for unique ID. So I know that this second guessed rule, unique ID must be unique. That is a really good quality rule, so I'm going to put a check mark next to this. Looking down at our next column, attending physician ID, I've got another validity check, which is nice, I'll apply that. But this second suggested rule is an example of a much more complex multi-column interdependency that Trifacta can come up with for you. So what this means is that for every unique attending physician ID, there must be one and only one attending specialty. So this is actually a good quality rule because I know that you can't have a single physician in this data set who has more than one specialty. Now, looking at each of these rules, when you see the suggestions, Trifacta generates a mini quality bar next to each suggestion. And this shows you the number of passing and failing rows in the current data set. So you can drill in a little bit deeper as well. So on this attending physician ID suggestion, I'm actually curious why we have 10 rows that are failing, where we don't meet that condition where there's only one specialty for each physician. So I can quickly surface only the failing rows. And what I can see here is that for whatever reason, these patients didn't have a physician. So for the purpose of this analytics, we have an empty value for attending physician ID, which doesn't pass our check. So this has allowed me to really quickly leverage the intelligence of the tool, get a wide variety of rules that are potentially useful for my data, validate them instantly, see what's happening, and I can simply click this add selected suggestions option. And you'll see that we've now applied those data quality rules to my data. Now, the other way of defining rules is manually creating the rules. So there's a wide variety of data quality rule options that we've built inside Trifacta. You can see, the different integrity constraints, pattern matching, column values, and even the flexibility of applying a custom formula. So this is the exact same language that you're used to working with in the data preparation component of Trifacta. So in this case, if I look at my data, I've got two columns, from date and to date. So one check that I know I need to perform on this data is make sure that the end of the stay always comes after the beginning of the stay. If these are switched for any reason, obviously I'm going to have patients with negative day stays, which would probably look great for our report, but is not good data. So I can pick a less than rule and simply fill out the wizard-like interface from date and to date. This should all ring very familiar. It's the same sort of suggested kind of type ahead assistance that you get in the data preparation tool. Once again, you'll see the preview. So we highlight all of the passing rows in green, any failing rows in red, and you'll be able to see that immediately. So this is just the initial setup. I'm defining a set of rules that I know are relevant and important to this data set. But really the key benefit of data quality in Trifacta is that embedding into the prep interface. So what that means is that as I'm preparing this data, I can actually see the impact of all of my steps on the quality rules I've defined. So I'm getting kind of immediate feedback on whether I'm making the data better or making the data worse. As an example, if we go back to this physician ID step, where attending physician ID must imply specialty, I'm going to look at my failing rows again. So I can see here that I'm working with these missing values. I'm going to quickly create a data prep step to remove those missing records from this data set. For this analysis, I might only want to look at patients who actually had a procedure performed. So I'll add this remove step to my recipe to just delete those missing rows. And now if I toggle back to my data quality rules, you'll see that all of these passing and failing quality bars have updated immediately. So I can see that that step that I performed where I'm deleting those missing records, this is now getting me to a point where my data quality for this rule is now 100%. So this can be a massive accelerator in terms of actually reducing the iterations and the time that it takes to get your data, understand if all of the steps that you're taking are actually helping you achieve that final cleansed outcome. I'm going to imagine that we've finished that rule definition cycle. We've done some data prep, based on our rules, and we're now ready to produce an output. So this is kind of bringing the quality rules into the end-to-end data preparation process. So when I run my job to create my output, I'm going to publish the results to Snowflake and create a profile of the results. This includes the standard quality information that Trifacta's data prep tool collects. So information about the number of valid records by data type, by the top values in each column. But we also generate a snapshot of the rules as applied to that output. And this is going to be saved every time you run a job. So what you're actually getting now is the ability to go back and look at your data prep pipelines at any point and validate that the new data coming in, that's not introducing any new failing records into your output. This relies on that same dependencies snapshot that we use when we process the transformation recipes, as well as showing you, the sources that this is being applied against. So, thinking about that value of a tool like this, where you're inserting the quality into that end-to-end data preparation flow, this is really the final step, is seeing over time if your quality of the outputs is changing, and then allowing you to very quickly go back in to the transformation interface, do that filter I showed earlier, see the failing rows, and add any steps to address the problems. So a much quicker time to value in terms of getting that clean data.